Hello and welcome to the video where I share the vulnerable and honest details about my own personal return to run journey after having my babies. I am here with my tiniest one. She is almost 8 months old actually at the time of this recording, and she is fast asleep, so fingers crossed I can get through recording this. And I finally just settled my 2-year-old again, so I'm hoping for a bit of time so that I can record this and let you all know kind of what I've been through. So grab your coffee, your tea, your water, whatever it is you have, and we're gonna dive right in. I want you to know that it's okay if you feel like you've lost a piece of yourself when you became a mom. I know that I definitely felt that way, especially after I had my second baby. Prior to that, I have a big age gap between my kids. My first baby is actually 21 years old. So I had my second baby when she was already 16. Okay, so big age gap there. I didn't get into running until after I had my first child, when she went to kindergarten. I had done a whole bunch of like long distance marathons, ultra marathons, triathlons, Ironman, all that kind of stuff. So I was doing a lot of training, a lot of training, because she was in school, and I was able to fit in the training around school schedule and activities and all that kind of stuff. So by the time I had my second baby, and now I had a teenager in the house and an infant, and I also had pelvic pain. We'll get into that a little bit more later. I had a really hard time feeling like myself. I didn't really feel like myself because I felt like I had lost a little bit of myself when I became a mom again, even though I had already been a mom for like 16 years. Like, she was independent and, yes, she had school activities and I had obligations as far as that's concerned, but like she was, she didn't need me all the time like the baby did. And so I want you to know that like it's okay to not only feel like you lost a little piece of yourself, but it's also to feel that way and still want to pursue your running goals and still want to like run regularly, like run 3 days a week or 5 days a week, or PR your whatever event, or get back to running 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, whatever it is. Like, you don't have to give up your running goals, whatever those are, just because you became a mom, or you became a mom again, and like the dynamic has changed. So I mentioned the pelvic pain that I had with my second child. I actually had it also with my third and my fourth, but to a lesser degree, because I had done the proper rehab and strengthening for my pelvic floor. But I developed SPD, right? Symphysis pubis dysfunction. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, it's also known as PGP, or pelvic girdle pain. Unless you have had the kind of pain, a lot of moms are not familiar with it. So a lot of times I just call it pelvic pain. It can be really debilitating. Like, one of my clients that I had to use a walker. For me, it didn't get to that level, but I did have pain with doing the stairs. I had pain with standing on one leg to get dressed. I had pain with getting in and out of the car. Needless to say, I had to stop running at about 6 months pregnant, and I did not resume running consistently until almost 1.5 years postpartum. It's kind of embarrassing to admit that, because being a PT, I've been a PT for as long as I've been a runner, since 2006. And to be honest and to say that I didn't have the answers is hard, because I'm always helping other people to heal their bodies and to get better. And here I felt stuck. I felt super stuck. Like, I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I did get to the point where I was running some, but it wasn't consistent. Like, I would run and then I would be in pain, so I would have to take like 3 or 4 days off. And then I would get frustrated and I would just say, forget it, I'm not going to run for 2 weeks, and then I would run again, and it would just it was like a horrible cycle, and it would just keep repeating itself. The other things that I dealt with too, after my second baby, were diastasis, right? So ab separation. It was like 4 fingers wide, and like it was pretty deep. I don't remember exactly, but it was wide and it was deep, and that was probably contributing to some of the pelvic pain that I was having. And I've also had some leaking sort of on the earlier postpartum phase after my second, and the pain you know, it didn't just affect my running, but I had a hard time with, I remember coming home from the hospital and like we had a swing for the baby and it was like kind of low to the ground. And I felt like I couldn't bend down safely holding my baby to put him into the swing. That was a big one for me. That was really upsetting for me actually. And then as he got a little bit older and was like, because the pain lasted for so long, I couldn't like sit on the floor for a long time to play with him when he was a crawler, because it was just too painful for me. So, you know, as a PT, as a runner, I thought that I did like all of the right things during pregnancy. But I want you to know that like, even if you do all the right things, that it doesn't necessarily guarantee an easy postpartum or an easy delivery, right? So like I had to be induced with him. It took, you know, 7 a.m. to like almost midnight before I had him. It was not an easy labor and delivery, even though I was a runner, right? So the lesson here is like, yes, definitely try to do the right things during pregnancy, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you will be free from issues or problems or pain in the postpartum period. So you're probably wondering, like, what did I do or what did I try exactly to try to get myself back to where I wanted to be? I did what I knew sort of like within my PT arsenal of things. I knew about Kegels. I wasn't a women's health exercise specialist at that point in time. I knew about Kegels. I knew like how to rehab from an injury, right, to get back to running. I knew how to get runners who like had an ACL done to get back to running. But I didn't have the pieces together of like, I'm a mom, I'm a runner, and I also have pain and pelvic floor dysfunction, right? So like those three things together, those did not exist like as like cohesively. So I would look at programs and I'd be like, well, I can't really do that because I have the pain. Or I'd look at a program and say, well, that's like for a more advanced runner than I am. And even though like I have been a runner for a long time, I was still considering myself a beginner runner because I was postpartum and trying to get back into it, right? So some programs, okay, that's great for like moms, but that's not going to get me back to running, right? So like a postpartum program not designed for runners. So there were like all these gaps that I felt like needed to be filled in, right? I talked to my OB. I talked to, actually went and saw a women's health PT, a pelvic floor PT. And the thing that I just kept hearing over and over again was give it more time. Just give it more time, give it more time, give it more time. Give yourself some grace, right? Have you heard that phrase before? And I got really sick and tired of hearing that. I got really tired. I didn't want to hear give myself some grace anymore at that point because I had already given myself grace. I felt like I had already given myself time to heal and to get better, and it wasn't working. What I was doing was not working. The women's health PT actually said to me, oh, you're doing all the right things, just keep doing it. And that was probably like one of the most frustrating things. I learned that I needed to put together the things that I knew from my PT knowledge base, and that I also needed to heavily invest into some continuing education to learn more about the women's health aspect, which I did. So I'm now a pregnancy and postpartum corrective exercise specialist. That's a mouthful. I just say that I'm a PT with a focus in women's health. So what I learned was I needed more than Kegels, and I needed more than time, and I needed exercises for runners all at once. I needed all of these at the same time in order to heal and strengthen my pelvic floor so that I could get back to running again. So I definitely reached that point where I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to run consistently. And I even thought, I might have to just give up running. And that's like a hard thought. I mean, sometimes when I've had an injury before, I've thought the same thing, but it's kind of like the in the moment type of thing. But this was like a really felt sense that I might have to give up running because it was just so painful and I wasn't able to, run like I wanted to. So if you're in that place where you feel like you'll never be able to get back to running without pain or pelvic floor symptoms, I hear you. You don't want to be like planning your runs around your pelvic floor symptoms. For me, primarily it was pain, right? I needed a lot of time to recover because I was having so much pain. But for other moms who deal with like leaking, for example, like having to plan your runs around like what color shorts or leggings am I wearing? Are there going to be bathrooms? Like, where can I stop along my route to use the bathroom? How much coffee did I drink? How much water have I had? Do I have to run first thing in the morning? Like, what happens if I run at the end of the day, right? Like, all of those factors. Having to think about all of those things is like overwhelming. I wanted to just be able to go out and run. Just run for the sake of running and not have to worry about pain and not have to worry about the repercussions of like how I was going to feel later that day or the next day or, the next week even. And really what was happening was that I was in a place at that time where I wasn't bridging that gap, that huge gap that's between doing Kegels and running, right? So there's like a big space in between those two. And I think that space still exists now. That a lot of moms are aware of Kegels and they think that if I just do more Kegels, things are going to get better. It's not always the case. But like, where are the runner specific exercises? Where are the exercises where we're challenging our pelvic floor and we're going to get back to running successfully? So it's not all this like stopping and starting and symptoms and well, if I don't do too much, then I won't have symptoms. Or if I don't drink this much, then I won't, leak while I'm running. Or if I don't drink this much, then I can go to the trampoline park, right? Like, having to think about all those things is like stressful. It's super stressful. You're feeling like you are sick and tired of like having to wear a pad. You're sick and tired of having to plan your life around bathrooms. You're sick and tired of dealing with the pain, of like not being able to get on and off the floor with your kids, of not being able to like bend over for me, it was like bending over to like give my child a bath. Like, that was a really painful position for me. If you have prolapse symptoms, like, I can't do that because afterwards I'm going to feel this heaviness or like this falling out feeling. And I don't really want to deal with that. So I'm just going to avoid this activity or I'm going to do less of it. That's not quality of life. You just want to get back to normal, right? You just want to get back to feeling like yourself. You just want to get back to feeling healthy and symptom-free and pain-free so that you can do whatever it is that you want with your kids. You can go out for a run. You can feel like yourself. You can just reclaim that piece of you that you feel like you lost somewhere along the way of becoming a mom and then also dealing with all this other stuff on top of it. And this is exactly why I created this program. I created this program because there wasn't one that existed. I created this program because I was totally frustrated with where I was at physically, and it was taking a toll on me mentally and where I was able to function as a mom. I created this program because I wanted something that was going to take me from the foundations of Kegels. Yes, those are important in the beginning, but like, what's beyond that to get me back to running. It took me more than a year and a half to get back to running after my second baby. The good news is that after developing this program, I used it for myself again after babies number 3 and baby number 4. And I was able to get back to running at 3 months. 3 months postpartum. 3 months like to the day with her, I started running, no issues. Did I have pelvic pain? Yes. Prior to that, but I was able to heal it and it has not been an issue since. And I've been running consistently since. And it was about 3.5 months after my third baby that I got back to running regularly and consistently. And so this is what I am so excited about, is because I feel like I figured it out for myself. I've used it with my clients with good success, and I want to share it with you. I want to help you to heal and strengthen your pelvic floor so that you can get back to running after having your kids without pain or pelvic floor issues. And I want you to feel like yourself again. Running makes me feel like myself, as I know for a lot of you, it does too. I want you to be able to feel like yourself, to reclaim that piece of yourself that you feel like you might have lost since you became a mom or since you became a mom again. I'm definitely going to share more with you about this program over the coming days, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse, bit of a glimpse into my life and my journey, sort of what I've been through and how this came to be. So I hope this helps in some small way.